Ready.
Welcome, everyone. I am so glad for another month of Ladies of the Kitchen. And sometimes there are young people that we as adults have guided them, and then they end up being the women who inspire us. And such is the case of my guest today, a very, very special person that's dear to my heart, Alicia Ochoa. And Alicia and I met several years ago. I think she might know the date better than I because I'm a senior. But we met in a fellowship program that supports individuals that have been impacted by a loved one's addiction to alcohol or drugs. And at that time, I had the honor of being her Alateen sponsor. But today, she's a nice, amazing, compassionate woman of 29 years of age. Not only has she managed to navigate through a lot of crossroads in life, she is thriving with creativity, ambition. She's a substance abuse counselor, a new mother, a young woman that's building her life with purpose. She has
Mhm.
launched not one, but two businesses. One is called Bundles of Love, and it's a thoughtfully curated, thrifted mystery home experience bundle, which she can tell you more about. I kind of checked it out a little bit. And the second one is Affirmation Cupcakes, and she just brings so much to the table. So help me welcome Alicia Ochoa to Ladies of the Kitchen 30-minute podcast. Welcome, girl.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you, Maria.
Well, you
Uh,
deserve it. You're an amazing lady. I'm not
oh, thank
kidding.
you. Thank you. Yeah, so, you know, 15 years old, I think, is the age that we first met. I'm 29, so if you could believe that, it
No,
sure doesn't feel like it's been that long
I know.
at
Remember
all.
driving in the car to our meetings? Oh my gosh,
Yes,
that's right.
I
You didn't even
do.
have a license yet.
No, I did not. But that will bring me to my first point, what it means to get to the point where I am now. It takes, asking for help, accepting help, whether it be, a ride to a meeting, or something more significant. I've had to ask for help a lot in my life. And in particular, the crossroads, like things that we have to get through in order for us to get on the other side and have that win and have that successful moment. It takes effort. It takes asking for help. So for me, when I first feel like I asked for help was when I was probably about 15, being impacted by a person in my life who struggled with alcoholism. I at 15 went searching on the internet, right? Asking for help, looking for answers. I found a chat room. This is a long time ago, so things are a little different on the internet now. I think being cautious is important, but at the time, what resources did I have? So I just knew I needed help, like I needed something. So someone in the chat room suggested Alateen. So I used more Google searches, and I and I actually remember reading about it in my health book. I was around like early years of high school, so like transitioning from middle school to high school, ninth grade. And then, I found that there was these meetings, these groups, support groups, right? Where people could come, and I went and I felt really accepted and I felt really loved and that I wasn't alone. And that became that starting point. There was the crossroads there. Like, do I ask for help? Right? Do I just accept, my circumstances, turn inward, you know, become depressed, or maybe go search for substances myself to answer my problems, right? And at that age, my crossroads went in the direction of asking for help, or not my crossroads, but the direction I took at that crossing point. And I'm still grateful to this day that my 15-year-old self made that decision.
And so am I, because it,
Yeah.
it perpetuated a friendship, and also I think it shows others that there's so much hope out there, and a lot of times it's an ask, and believe it or not, it doesn't require money. There's so
Mm,
many times when we can ask for help and people are willing to give it without asking for anything in return. And that's one of the
absolutely.
things that's so great about that particular program. So during that time, since the family was kind of like all over the place
Mm.
and you're just trying to get healthy yourself, how did you find somebody, or did you feel that that group gave you what you needed to have the support and to have someone to admire and to follow, or a mentor? And how did that graduate to getting your own apartment and everything else?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that that program in particular has a lot of, you know, foundational elements on how to live in the world, right? Like, you know, learning how to let go, understanding, um, this too shall pass, right? Like just those little slogans, right, that they teach you at that 15-year-old age, right? That's really important for you because your whole world is like, a little bit smaller, right? Like you think
Yeah.
everything's, kind of the end, or that it's only happening to you, right? It's really small, and it expands, right? Like with those important figures, right? You being my Alateen sponsor, another significant woman being my Alateen sponsor who's
Yeah.
now passed,
Yeah.
rest in peace. Those significant people, those figures in my life, in those meetings gave me the tools I needed, not just gave me them, but offered them to me. I had to be open for that, right? So one of the things that I found to be, at reflecting on it, the most impactful is the idea of like autonomy, right? Like that, I have advocacy, I have power, that I'm the one that's going to make the change in my life. I can't change anybody else. It's about what I can do. And I'll never forget, like, even just like in the little moments of like, maybe Lisa suggesting we do a bake sale, or Maria suggesting we do a bake sale to raise funds, right? That's
Right.
on us, right? We are making the cupcakes, which, is one of the,
You did everything,
businesses
the setup, everything. We
later
stand
launched.
back and we go, okay, and we're trying not to tell you how to do it, which is hard for us
Exactly.
adults.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that instilled so much in me. Like looking back, like that made such a big difference, right? That it is up to us, even handling the money, right?
Yes.
Like, are you sure you want to trust, some teenagers with
Right.
loose cash and coins?
But that's how we learn, right? All of
Exactly.
us. You know,
Hmm.
we learned that we have to trust as adults that you're going to make the mistakes or learn from them. And you have to just take the reins and go, oh my gosh, am I going to do something with this power that they just gave me? This little project that they gave me, which is really a big project. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, do you feel your first job, I remember your first job, do you feel that first job helped you not only to obtain your first apartment, but also to have confidence? You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, you know what? I think that my career journey has been one that's not really like super linear, that's not super traditional. I jumped around a lot at first because I
Right.
wasn't the type of person that wanted to settle for being unhappy in the workplace. And some people don't have the privilege to leave a job, or even get a job at a young age, right? But the fact that I had people supporting me, whether it was like my side business, even as a 15-year-old selling cupcakes, right?
Yes.
Maria had me in her kitchen
Yes.
actually making cupcakes, making, I think it was graduation for
Yes.
somebody else, baby
A
shower, right?
baby
Like,
shower. Yep.
hmm right, the support there, right? And whether I was selling knives in you know,
Yeah, the the Cutco
situation.
knives.
Yes, Coco in a weird, like, let's grab the teens graduating from high school and have them sew knives to their neighbors kind of situation. At least I had, bought those for me. Bought those from me. Maria bought those for me. And another really significant woman in my life is my grandmother. I called her Annie. Her name's Janice. She is also passed. She, gosh, the most, kind woman, generous woman, loving woman, taught me so much, how to love, how to be generous, how to, be accepting of people. My grandma is like she was a little traditional, and that didn't stop her from having relationships with her grandchildren, whether they aligned with what she believed or what she, wanted us to do with our lives. Didn't matter if we were doing it the way that she wanted to. She still thought it was important for her to
So
have a
what I'm,
relationship with us.
yeah. So what I'm hearing is you took a little bit from all these
Yes.
experiences, kind of molded it into a ball and said, okay, this is the best of this is the best, and then I'm going to take it and now I'm going to go save some money and get my first place.
Yes, yes. So, and the reason that I was able to get a place partially is by being a little bit smart with my money, right? Because you need money in order to move out on your own. But also part of it was, it's a really cool story, actually. So I'll tell you.
Uh-huh.
I'm searching for apartments in an area that's closer to the person that I was dating at the time. I was feeling ready to, who I now have a child with. I was feeling ready to, move, transition my life in the new area. So I'm looking for places, have no credit, right? Have no um former rental people to give me references, right?
This,
And I
right.
and I get on the phone with this rental agent after I had toured an apartment, and I'm telling her, I'm being honest. So I was like, listen, this is, I'm just out of college, I that's the only debt that I have. I don't have, credit or anything, but like this is me. And she said, okay, well, you seem like a nice person. Maybe if we can get a co-signer, we'll help you out. So I'm asking around. Guess who I'm asking? I'm asking, some of those significant women in my life that impacted me. However, they were not able to support me in that way. And that's okay, right? It doesn't hurt to ask, right? Asking for help get
Right.
you somewhere. Could I have stopped there? This is my crossroads. Could have given up. They can't help me. Oh well, I can't find a place to live. No, I did not stop there, right? I called the lady back. I couldn't get a cosigner. Thank you for the chance. And she's like, okay, well, you can't get a cosigner. Maybe, you could do 2 months deposit and uh two last month's rent, or some big significant
Like a
amount, like
number.
extra.
Right.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, I know I didn't have like that much more money, right? So again, I'm reaching out, I'm just talking with people that, support me, right? What should I do? They can't really help me. Okay, it's a loss. I can't do it. Call the lady back. Listen, I can't do it. No one's able to, give me the extra funds that I need. And the lady on the phone, she's like, you know what? You seem like such a nice girl. I'm going to personally speak to the owner of the building and advocate for you to get this place regular deposit and first month's rent. Um, just send me your information, and you've got the unit. You've got the apartment. Amazing, right? Just because I didn't give up,
And
because
because
I
you were
I asked.
honest,
Yeah,
you kept
yeah,
going back. Yes.
yeah. Right. Like
Persistence
the
and honesty sometimes are truly markers in the world. And that woman saw it, felt it, and believed in you. And this is what I think you're doing for others with your business, with being a new mom, with being the substance abuse counselor. You show up, you're authentic, you give your story, you share your hope, your pains. And believe it or
yeah,
not, you don't even know if you've impacted somebody, but chances are you have, you know?
yeah. That is one of the stories that I do actually share with the clients that I do group therapy with.
Oh,
Maybe not
great.
all the time or not every day, but when it comes to a moment where maybe they need to hear something like that, I have shared that story, and because people feel like the world is against them sometimes, but
Right. Or I'm just going to give up. After the
Mhm.
first try, they go, oh, well, that's a loss, right?
Right. It's easy to
Exactly.
do that sometimes. Sometimes that's all we have the capacity for, right? We gave it our all, and that's all we can do. But
Hmm.
sometimes if we can do more, you know, go ahead, see what happens, right? Do you have the capacity to pick up the phone and call again? If you do, go for it, you know. Sometimes I don't have, that in me. Sometimes I get in a place where like I'm not feeling super empowered.
Right.
I'm a person who constantly is working on my mental health. I go to therapy, right? I go to, you know, all these things that support my growth, right? If I don't have these community oriented, support people in my life, then where am I going to be at? I'm going to be a little bit stuck. You need help in this world, right? So I'm glad that I'm able to offer that to the clients that I work with, and hopefully it helps them sometimes. Yeah.
So what inspired you to actually go into that line of being, yeah, what was the marker in your heart that said, this is definitely what I'm going to do?
That's another great question, Maria. I think that I always had a calling to, work in that field, with the introduction of, being an Alateen, being around people, really understanding that alcoholics, drug addicts, etc. Like,
I think you froze. Oh, I'm sure she'll come back on. Oh,
okay,
there
sorry
you
about that.
go. A
Okay, sorry
moment
about
of
that.
clarity, everybody.
Yes. Okay. So what was I saying?
About
Oh,
it inspiring.
working in that field. How did I get there? Yeah. So I was able to um, you know, be a part of that world, right? Getting to know alcoholics, drug addicts. They're people. They're kind people. They're some of the best people that you'll ever meet. And what inspires me is how they're trying to get help, right? Some people in this world are not ready for help. They're not ready for, making change in their life. And these people are, right? It's amazing to work with people who want to change their life and help themselves. So what happened is, I went in a different direction at first. I was going to be a teacher. So I went to school, grad school to be a teacher. I wanted to teach
Like
psychology.
me.
You know, yes,
Yeah.
being inspired by other people around me, like it felt like a calling in the moment. And I did teach for 1 year, and the students that I taught, amazing, beautiful, like just sponges, being able to bring in, what I had to offer, not being a super harsh, traditional, I don't care about you kind of teacher, but being a what I had, to offer, right? Being a compassionate, kind, caring person. I was able to bring that into that space. But ultimately, I wasn't able to teach psychology. I had to teach geography and, history and such, and just wasn't something that I was super happy with. So I remembered, where have I been happy in my life? Well, in college, um, I worked at a rehab. I was really happy there. That was one of the like most, you know, the most that's like earlier I mentioned that I had hopped around jobs a lot, right?
Yes.
Left jobs because I was unhappy with them. That was a place that I was happy, right? I was happy working there. So what should I do, right? How do I get back into that field? And then, as I do, right? Make some calls, keep pushing forward, don't give up. Found a great job, and the job that
Here
I work
you
at now
are.
is an outpatient treatment center, and here I am working there for 2 years, running group therapy. I do case management there as well, like supporting people, apply for financial assistance, etc. I also do some admin, right? Like intaking
Right. A
people,
little bit of
getting to
everything.
know, why they're there. Yeah.
So how
So
did
that's,
your
and then Go ahead.
This is the exciting part I want to know because I know for
Mhm.
me it's a big part of what I do because you got to eat anyway, and baking and cooking brings me a lot of joy, and I know it brings you a lot of joy. So why don't you share with us how it ties into your love, which is doing your business of, helping in the substance abuse, but then you also have these two other businesses that deal with food. So kind of wrap that all together.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I am a creative person, right? I'm a person who, you know, gets a lot of good ideas. Let's just like, label it like that. I get a lot of good ideas, and sometimes I want to see what can happen, right? And at first, I was like, let's go back to that theme of where am I happy? What am
Yes,
I happiest doing, right?
yes.
And that's something that I work on in therapy, right? That's something that you have to challenge yourself to look at in your life, right? Challenge yourself to be happy. Don't just, stay down, stay, stuck, right? So I'm, relearning what my hobbies are, what my passions are, what my love is, and joy for me is thrifting, going to thrift stores, being on a journey, finding things, and baking, right? Baking cupcakes, decorating cupcakes and cakes. So the first business I opened, I launched was about thrifting home decor bundles. But there's a little twist, right? Because, I can't just like list something that I may not even know exists, right? Because you have to go to the thrift store, and every thrift store has
So
something
it
different,
becomes
right?
a mystery.
Yes, so it's a mystery, right? So
Oh,
I create these mystery bundles. People can order like, 5 to 7 items depending on what um their home decor
is
style is like, what's their
yeah.
aesthetic, right?
I
And then on
love
top
that.
of that, thrift stores don't just have home decor. They also have like activities and things. So I can thrift you something to make your home more you, something that matches your theme, and you don't have to go out and put the effort or get what everyone else buys at Target or Walmart. You're getting something unique. Or you can order an activity bundle, which I also have listed too, which is like maybe you want a movie night or a date night, or you want to go on a picnic and you want to make it a little more cute, a little more special, right? Not just get what everybody else has to your picnic. Everybody has that one thing from this store or that store, right? But what about, getting those cute glasses from the thrift store that you never would have been able to
Thought of
own had you
getting.
not? Yeah.
Oh, that's so fantastic.
Yeah,
Um, let me ask you a cute question here.
please.
If you were to describe your little new one, because you're a new mother, right?
Mhm.
And your life right now as a culinary dish or a great
Oh.
dessert, what would that be? What would it be? Would it be a delicious chocolate cupcake? Would it be a plate of lasagna? What would it be and why?
Oh my gosh. Well, he's my little guy. He's the cutest little thing in the whole wide world. Um, and I think everybody loves him so much. So maybe a dessert that everybody loves, right? Everybody loves apple pie. I don't love apple pie. But what about ice
Really?
cream? Maybe a little bit of ice cream on top of a piece of cake. Maybe
Yeah,
like a birthday cake, right? Who doesn't love birthday cake? So maybe a birthday cake with a scoop of ice cream on the side.
I
That
love that.
that would be my boy.
So
Something special.
if you had somebody just out of college right now, maybe there's some dysfunction in their home, maybe not, but they're a young girl out of college and they know they've got to support themselves or they don't want to stay home and be, feeding off mom and dad. And they're just like, I know I can do something. I think I want to be an entrepreneur, a woman. There's so many things I probably could do. What kind of advice would you give that person? Fresh, with knowledge, with what would you say to them to get them
Yeah,
going?
that's uh, another great Question. So, first I would love to like acknowledge that, I have some privilege, right? I'm privileged to have been able to work on my mental health in my life. I'm privileged to have access to these support people in my life. Not everybody has these figures in their lives. So, I would start there. I would start, what kinds of things do you have access to in your life, and where could you get more, right? Because there is free resources out there, whether it's Alateen, Al-Anon, whether it's, Codependence Anonymous, whether it's Alcohol Anonymous, whatever, you know, things that you're going through in your life. Not just that, right? But there's the internet too, right? Where can we find support? Maybe it's ladies of the kitchen, maybe it's joining a cooking class, right? Finding community, finding support, I think is a great starting point, because we can't imagine that we can do these things alone, right? If we think that we have to do things alone because that's the only way things get done in our lives, or that's what the narrative we've told ourselves, well,
Those.
like, I have to do it by myself. No one else is going to look after me, right? That narrative actually can really hinder us. So I would say start finding out where you're at in your life, as far as what support and resources you have, and how can you expand that, right? How can you, little by little, with the capacity that you have, reach out and grow the community, you know,
I
of
love
your
that
life.
because you're
Hmm.
right. It begins with an ask, and then later it goes into community and support because we have the power to do much, but we need that inner wisdom and guidance of other people knowing they've done it. I can too, and they're cheering me on.
Hmm.
It's just builds the confidence that so many of us innately were born with as little kids. We have confidence when we're walking and learning to walk.
Yeah.
But then we lose a lot of this confidence as we go through life. The little
Yeah.
baby confidence that we got, we start losing. So, is there someone that you've either read their book or listened to them that you go, wow, I really admire that individual, or this person's kind of shaped me a little bit into who I am?
I would say the somebody that I like to listen to a lot, or has written some really great things, is Gabor Mate. I don't know if you're familiar with Gabor Mate, but he is a person who offers a lot of insight as far as like human development and why we are the way that we are, and how suffering really impacts our decisions, and we can't make change until we understand part of ourselves, and why we're always seeking comfort and things that aren't the best for us, and how we can kind of reframe, relook at, reevaluate how we're dealing with our lives, and choose a different path of understanding, and go from there. And I think that he offers a lot of insight for people with substance abuse issues, and also just in general, like, what it takes to be a better version of yourself by understanding the inside of your mind, basically.
I love that. So I'm going to wrap our session up because we're getting to the end. So I've got
Hmm.
three is my favorite number. So I've got three more things to ask you.
Okay,
So
let's
number
do it.
one is, do you, in your research, have you found that the numbers of people who live out in our external world
Hmm.
are almost everyone? Like, is there a percentage that gets growing, has been affected by somebody's drinking or drug use? Do you
Oh
think
yeah.
that number is going up? And is it a lot more than people even want to admit or realize?
I think that's a great, all your questions are great. With that said, yes, I think that the drug use right now is probably impacting people. I mean, maybe more or just as much as alcohol, but with the fentanyl epidemic and everything, that's really affecting a lot of people. People that, not just are regular drug users, but people who experiment here and there. They're losing their lives because of, fentanyl being laced in so many things. So all of that trickles into everyone's lives around them. People, losing loved ones left and right.
Mhm.
It's not just death, of course, that impacts people's lives when it comes to addiction. But yeah, I think that right now we're in a world where we want to numb. The world is really chaotic right now. So
Right.
I think that the numbers will probably reflect that, and people are struggling more, and that impacts way more people than you would imagine. not just the person
Which makes
self-inflicting.
it even more important that women like you, and hopefully in my age range too, do everything they can to offer hopes, even if it's a smile at the drugstore or grocery
Yeah.
store, or, passing on the person behind you, like you tell the clerk, okay, that next $5, get her a drink. Here it is.
Hmm.
Anything that we can do to pass on the joy, right? Because I believe you're right. It's more out there than we probably want to look at or admit. So that was my first
Absolutely.
question. My second question is, how do you want to be remembered in the world? If you were to
Hmm.
leave the planet today, how would you want people to remember you?
Um, I think simply just that, I'm a compassionate person and that I love, right? That the people that have touched me in my life, that's what I think of them, that they loved not only me, but they just shared love. They were generous, they were everything that I wanna be, and so that's what I hope to leave an impact on, whether it be through my businesses, right? Like, bundles of love is, like, literally in the name, right? Like,
Yeah.
sharing, something that I thoughtfully picked out for you, that's sharing love, right? Making a cupcake for you, that's sharing love, right? What I'm putting into that, that's love, right? So, and then with affirmation cupcakes in general, right? The name in itself, like, I want people to be affirmed, to feel empowered, right? We all struggle with that. Maybe you don't even know what affirmations are, right? And
Yeah.
so through my sharing of cupcakes, I can educate people who may not know what it is to be affirming towards yourself, to say things like, these I statements, I am loved, I am, trustworthy, I am valuable, I am worthy. Those are just some one-offs, right? And they don't have to be I am statements, but you don't even have to believe them in order for you to say them out loud, because the more you say them out loud, the more that your brain is going to, accept that and start to
Right.
believe it, right? You're training your brain, you're rewiring your brain, and that's what it takes, right? Is retraining your brain to, from one place to another place. If we're normally thinking negative, 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 right, can't get anywhere in life, then we're going to continue to reinforce those thoughts. But if we think, I can do this, I am amazing, I can do this, I have evidence to support that I'm creative and I can do this, that's going to be reinforced.
Yeah. Oh, great way to be remembered. Okay, and lastly, my question is, so obviously you're a new mother, you're juggling getting into that new routine,
Yeah.
but what is the one thing that you will not compromise on that is part of your routine, either the morning or the evening that you go, okay, whether I'm a new mom or not, I am
Mhm.
never going to stop doing this. What is that this?
Yeah, I think that you don't know until you're going through it, right? What I thought maybe I wouldn't compromise on, I have compromised on, whether it's when it's appropriate for me to go to the bathroom or something, right? That's not always up to me anymore. Um, when I have my lunch or my dinner, that's not up to me anymore. But I still get fed. I still feed myself, right? My partner helps me, and I still get to the bathroom, right? But something that I don't compromise on is, the friendships and the connections that I have with people. Every day I'm sending pictures to my friends and family, staying connected, right? So that's something I'll never compromise on, hanging on to those threads that connect us to other people. So whether you can get on the phone and have a conversation with somebody, or you just send a little simple text, or you're just thinking about them, you look at a photo of somebody, that you love, some place you've been, think about a memory that keeps us connected. And I think that staying connected is really key, because you don't want to feel alone when you're a new mother, when you're a new parent, when you're at any phase in your life, you don't want to feel alone. So that really has
That
helped me a
is
lot.
so cool. And that's a perfect way to end because that's how we're going to connect with you. We're going to find you on Instagram. And that
Great.
would probably be our best place, correct? Bundles
Yes,
of love and
absolutely.
affirmation cupcakes. And I'll put that in the notes.
Okay, great.
And before we leave, is there any wonderful foodie comment or affirmation comment you would like to share with us?
Sure. I would say as far as food, you know, stick with traditions, right? You're gonna, be happy if you have always eaten a certain meal with your family and you're down and you're not feeling well, get to making that meal. That's gonna make you feel better, right? Or, for example, my grandma, who I love so dearly, every year always made Christmas cookies. We have the same recipes, we do them every time. After she's passed, I'm continuing to make those recipes, sharing those cookies with other people, right? Staying connected with those nostalgic recipes. Do it. It will make you feel good. I promise. And then as far as maybe just an affirmation, I'll leave everyone with some that I've basically came up with on my own, right? You can search the internet and find tons. You don't have to make them up on your own, but I felt like it's important to make them personal. So these affirmations, I have like 10 that I've sort of begun my business with, what I'll hand out to people with their cupcake orders. Let's just pick one randomly.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Here it is.
Oh,
It
and I love it.
says,
It's in purple, my favorite color.
"Me too." All right. I am filled with energy and love that radiates onto others. Say it.
Simple and beautiful. You got to
Right?
send that one to me with the purple
Okay.
around it.
Absolutely. I
Well,
will.
thank you so much for being my guest today.
Thank you for having me.
it's funny that our pain, literally, our pain that we
Mm,
were going through, me with a terrible, crazy up and down divorce moment in time. And I'm here as your sponsor, just like a basket case every day. And you coming in with your situation. And here we are, both
yeah,
able to, like you said, connect, support, and offer hope. And that's what it's all about,
absolutely.
everyone. So thank you
Mm.
for joining me. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We'll see you next month on Ladies of the Kitchen 30-minute chat podcast. Bye.